Yo, what's up?
40.
Back on.
Sup?
What's going on? Today's Thursday. Our weekend for the Sports Bag Bros
Right?
podcast. But hey, since we're just 2 days a week now, we're going Mondays and Thursdays. Less is more because we will have segments that we will put out there in those days that would have been there that are not there, but they will be there. But let's get right into it. Today is a sports day. Going into the weekend, the NFL in its last week of regular season play. No Thursday night football, just Sunday, just Saturday, no Monday night. It's coming down to it.
Yeah, you got a lot of playoff lives on the line, a bunch of games with playoff implications. Should be an exciting weekend. In the AFC, you got three teams who could possibly win the division.
Yep.
Jaguars, Colts, and Texans. And the Colts and Texans play each other.
Yep.
But their division title hopes rely on the Jaguars losing, which isn't beyond the realm of possibility.
Yeah, going into it with CJ Beathard, even though he played well, you know what? I was thinking when I saw CJ Beathard in the last game, Trevor Lawrence has been playing subpar all season long. I believe he regressed from the first and even last season since he's been in the league. CJ Beathard is pretty much picking up where Trevor Lawrence left off. You know, based on Trevor Lawrence's talent, you would think that there's a big drop off between he and CJ Beathard. But based on the way he's been playing this year, Trevor Lawrence, he's pretty much CJ Beathard. CJ Beathard is pretty much him, and you're getting kind of the same result. So whatever happens in this game in Tennessee this Sunday, well, probably would be the same thing you would have gotten from Trevor Lawrence.
Seems that way, right? Trevor, he had maybe one or two good games all season.
Yeah.
The rest have been pretty pedestrian. So, are they missing much?
No, exactly. They aren't missing much. And by the way, you know, Travis Etienne did play better in the last game, but he's had a pretty subpar season himself this year. You know, going into the season, I was more concerned about him hanging on to the ball, all this ball security, the issues he had in his first year starting because he missed his rookie year because of injury, came back last season, fumbled quite a bit, lost the ball a few times. This year, he's not losing the ball at all. He started off hot, but then things cooled off, averaging fewer than 4 yards a carry, which is a surprise. But he is kind of making up for it out of the backfield. But it hasn't been enough, you know, until they snapped that long 4-game winning streak they had, the losing streak they had. Now they just won this past weekend. But now they're playing the Titans, who have their own issues. So, I mean, it could end this way. You know, if there's a 3-way tie in the division, there's a bunch of tiebreakers. I can't even get down to it. The Jaguars beat the Texans beat the Jaguars, Indianapolis beat the Jaguars beat Indianapolis, that kind of thing. You know, you got to go a little further down the line in the tiebreakers to come to a conclusion, unless someone could separate themselves now.
Right. And I think that entire Jaguars offense is disappointed this year. You talk about Calvin Ridley, and we thought he was going to have a tremendous
started off that way.
You know, I haven't really heard much. I haven't heard his name much, you know, last month or so.
And that's exactly what it is.
So yeah, that offense leaves a lot to be desired. I became a CJ Stroud fan just because of the things he was doing before he got injured. Mm-hmm. So I'm going for the Texans all the way. Yeah, hopefully they beat the Colts. Hopefully the Jaguars lose and the Texans win the division.
Well, I'm here in Jacksonville. I never disliked the Jacksonville Jaguars. I like to see them succeed. But I also know if they do succeed, they're pretty much going to go in the playoffs just to lose the game when they get there. You know, you don't want to get to a point to where you're just happy to be there. After what they had done last year and after what was expected going into this season, they were supposed to have been taking that step forward, possibly getting to the Super Bowl. But now if they just win now just to get there, if they happen to get there and lose in the first round, that's still regression, in my opinion. And you can't expect Trevor Lawrence to be the same player with an AC joint issue with his throwing arm. That doesn't go away in a couple of days, weeks. It goes away in probably a month or so, maybe a few months or so to be effective. And especially towards the end of the season where everyone seems to be injured anyways. But yeah, a 3-way tie in the AFC South. And then you still have the game that's been flexed into the primetime spot, the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins playing down in Miami, and Buffalo's a favorite. That's pretty surprising to me.
Is it really, though? Because every time the Dolphins have played a team with a winning record, they've got blasted. except for one game. Well, who they be? Dallas?
Dallas, yeah.
Yeah, except for Dallas. And we know about Dallas's issues on the road. So, is that really the win that it looks like on paper? I don't know. But blasted by the Ravens, blasted by the Bills. They're the ultimate front runners for one thing. So if they don't get the lead against Buffalo, it's going to be tough.
I'm thinking more of being at home, having a home field with so much on the line. And not only that, look at Buffalo and had their own issues with consistency and playing up to par and what we thought they were going to be going into the season. They still are the best team, or at least along with the Dolphins. We're going to decide on Sunday who's actually the best team in the AFC East. But they've been having their issues. When you expected them to win, they lost. When you expected them to lose, they won. And then anything else was thrown in the air, and wherever it fell, it fell. And here they are now.
But did they figure something out against Dallas? But did they figure something out against Dallas? Let's just run it down their throat. I don't know. I don't think the Dolphins' run defense is that tough. So if they decide they're just going to come out and shove it down their throat, what can the Dolphins do to stop it?
Yeah, well, that's true too. But the Dolphins, if nothing else, was known for their offense. So if their defense really can't get it together, their offense probably can. You still have a bit of a gimpy Tyreek Hill because of the ankle. That doesn't go away either. He's still going to try to tough it out. But then you still have Waddle, and you still have A-Chain is back, and he's been putting up the numbers again. Not exactly 11 and 12 yards a carry, but 7, 8, and 9 yards a carry. Still pretty damn effective if you can get the ball to him. So
but Buffalo's controlling the clock, just running the ball that keeps the offense off the field. So we'll see how it plays out. But
yeah,
if you ask me right now, I'm gonna say Buffalo wins that game.
Yeah, I would like to pick Buffalo because it seems like it should be the way. And of course, I don't like the Dolphins because, well, that used to be the just big rivalry back in the 80s. And that's when I grew up watching this miserable thing. But yeah, I'm going to just go out on a limb and take the Miami Dolphins to finally show up at home with something on the line. And both of their fans will be watching because, they can hardly fill up the place too. So they have two fans that will sit in the stands and watch this game. And then they'll have people at home. Everybody, all eyes on them. There isn't any Monday Night Football. This is the primetime game. Everyone else would have finished their own game. All the fans from all teams will watch this game because it should be entertaining, even if it's not your team involved. And I think that the Miami Dolphins, with that being on the line and having that little oomph for home field, should be able to pull it off in an exciting game, hopefully. I don't think they've been in any games that weren't exciting. They just haven't won them.
Well, I mean, do you consider 49-20 exciting? I don't know.
Oops. I mean, for the most part, out of a 17.
I mean, the scoring plays are exciting. Yeah, sure, the scoring plays. Yeah, but
out of a 17,
there's no suspense. It's not coming down to the wire. I don't know.
You want to take one little game out of it and just explode it, right?
I have to what's the word? Put into context what you mean by exciting. Because,
well, you know what? They were the ones who did drop the 70 spot on the Denver Broncos early this year. I know that's a long time ago now relative to where we're at now in the last week of the season, the 18th week. Well, I think that they have a little bit of that left, especially for what all teams who are injured. All teams are injured at this point of the season. The teams that are hopeless, the teams that are hopeful, the teams that are already there, like Baltimore and San Francisco, they have what they have right now. They're still injured. This just how well can you play with this battle of attrition and still have success? And those teams have proven it. I think the Dolphins should be able to pull this off on Sunday. If not, that's just bad luck for them. But I don't think they're out of the playoffs because of it. I think they still get that. Don't they get that the wild card because they would still be a double-digit team in the same division?
Yeah, I think they're in. It's just whether or not they win the division. Yeah.
Yeah, and now we talked about the Jaguars and the three teams that have the same record in the AFC South. But then we look at that game on Saturday with the Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. Should Lamar play? Should Lamar not play?
I thought I saw a report that he's not playing.
Okay, I thought they would just put him out there for about a quarter play like the preseason. The reason why,
yeah, I say a half, but
you know what? Because the way it turns out, if he doesn't play this game, you get your bye, you don't play that game, and then when you come back from all of this is your third week,
right?
Until you get out there and playing. And for quarterbacks with timing and all that, man, there's not enough practice in the world that's going to prepare you for this playoff atmosphere, even that home field advantage. And with Lamar Jackson's history of kind of not doing that well in the postseason, man, I think he's getting over it this year. But until he does it, he still hasn't gotten over it.
I think that happened to them like 3 or 4 years ago. It may have been Lamar's MVP season. They had the bye week. He had a few weeks off, and then they played the Titans, and everything went wrong. Before they knew it, I think they were down 20-0 halfway through the second quarter. Yeah, you got to try to stay in rhythm. You know, practice is not the same as game day. It's just not.
Exactly. And I don't know how to assimilate what's going to happen on the regular game as opposed to what's in practice. No one really does know the game speed deal when it comes down to NBA sports, even basketball, which we can talk about later with Draymond Green trying to come back after the suspension. Still not a definitive date, just pretty much getting caught up to speed with his conditioning so he's in basketball shape for whenever he does come back, because Adam Silver still has the final say on whether or not he's coming back and which day it's going to be.
Yeah, we have to wait and see did he meet the parameters of his.
Allegedly, he did. So they said he's done with the NBA.
In 2 weeks, his anger management, his anger issues are cured.
A whole new man, a whole new angry man.
We'll talk about that later. Let's stick to football.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, this is what we have in the NFL. Not a lot of descriptive games this week because
you got the Packers trying to get into the playoffs.
Packers and the Bears is the last one I was going to mention.
So I'm on record. I've been done with Justin Fields for at least a month, maybe 5-6 games. And my reason for being done with him is every time that Bears have the ball with a chance to go down and either tie the game, take the score the go-ahead touchdown, whatever, he either gets strip sacked, runs and fumbles, or throws an interception. Like almost every time. And I was like, you know what? I don't care if he throws for 300 yards. If when the game's on the line, you throw an interception often, almost every time, then those 300 yards mean nothing. If you're giving it up when you're scrambling every time in clutch time, then your numbers before that mean nothing because you're always giving it up when it counts the most. When your team needs you the most, you're giving the ball away. So now he's had this nice little stretch. And the fans are chanting, "We want Fields, we want Fields."
Well,
man, I don't know. It's easy to start drinking the Kool-Aid, but that's how you get yourselves in trouble. I'm not for it. I have not changed my mind. He looked like absolute dog crap against the Browns. That offense did nothing against the Browns, and the Browns are a good defense. So yeah, he put up decent numbers against the Falcons. The Falcons don't have a 500 record.
Nope.
They beat the Lions. Well, the Lions have their own issues all the time. Division game, whatever. But also the defense has been playing way above their heads, above the level that the Bears were expected to play. Ever since the Montez Sweat trade, that defense is playing at a high level. And I experienced in 2019 when they first got Khalil Mack, that defense was playing at an insane level. Mack was getting strip sacks. Eddie Jackson was getting pick sixes. Akeem Hicks was getting strip sacks. I mean, that defense was just taking the ball away. And it hit all of the offensive deficiencies, all of their I can't even think of the word. Whatever they're missing, you get the ball at the 32-yard line and you drive for a touchdown. Okay, it looks good. At the end of the game, you got a touchdown pass, a 9-yard touchdown pass, but you only drove the ball 32 yards. What happens when you get the ball at your own 19? You end up punting from the 27, right? And so in 2020, when that defense couldn't play at that same level, we found out Trubisky was not a good quarterback. We found out Matt Nagy couldn't call plays. He couldn't call a good game, an entire game. Oh, yeah, he had the Philly special or he had this play. One play for an entire game that you bring out every 3-4 weeks, that's not a good play caller. That's not an all good offensive coordinator. And so I'm reluctant to jump back on the Fields bandwagon for that reason.
Now, you did say that they have this little stretch going on, and it's been a pretty respectable stretch that they've been on that kind of put them in a pretty solid position, momentum-wise, especially going to a game of this caliber with the rivalry at stake and being a spoiler for Green Bay. If they can do that in Green Bay, Green Bay has a hot streak of their own with Jordan Love playing insanely this year. He's up there, and he's like number 3 in the league with touchdowns. You wouldn't think of that if you didn't think about it and see it. But anyway, during this winning streak that the Chicago Bears have had, has it been a Justin Fields fueled winning streak, or is it just a team that's just kind of coming together at the right time, and whether Justin Fields is there or not, they still would be in the same spot?
It's been a team effort. I mean, like I mentioned, the defense is playing at a very high level right now. I think they're either 1 or 2 against the rush. And then Montez Sweat, he's made a world of difference. He's getting double teams. He's getting pressure on the quarterback. He's making everybody else's life easier on that line, and especially the linebackers. They're not getting blocked 4 yards downfield. They're able to hit the hole or plug the holes, stop the run. Contract year for Jalen Johnson, so he's upped his game. But Eddie Jackson played his ass off when it was his contract year too, and since then he's been scared to tackle people, scared to hit people. I think in 4 years he might have 2, maybe 3 interceptions. When his contract year, he had like 6 or 7. So now he's just making a lot of business decisions. He got him tackled. I'm just gonna sit back and watch. Oh, he's at the 1. I'm not gonna stop him. I'll just put my arms out, act like I'm gonna tackle. Oh, he made it. I couldn't stop him. I mean, his tackling effort has been pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
Got his money, got those silk pajamas.
Right.
Can't tackle anymore. But you know what? And the Chicago Bears are in a pretty bad spot if you want to look at it that way, because if they're trending up and now you have fans coming, a lot of these ownership outfits, they really listen to the fans if the fans are really pushing it. I'm not in the Chicago area, so I don't hear the media up there or see the fans or hear the fans really go after it every single day, where ownership or someone in management is listening, like they even do in New York. They listen, and then when the fans get a little bit too up in arms, they kind of respond and go to the station. But this happens to come at a time where there are quarterbacks in this upcoming draft, some of them that you want, or one of them definitely that you want, and even a wide receiver with Marvin Harrison Jr. You have 2 first-round draft picks. There's a real possibility to secure both guys, a quarterback and a receiver. And if everybody's screaming for Justin Fields, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for Chicago to get rid of Justin Fields and bring in yet another rookie that you may have to start from the ground floor up, like a Jaden Daniels, if that's the guy.
I don't know Ryan Poles. I don't think he's been around long enough for us to really have a good idea of his personality, how stubborn he is or how not stubborn he is. But if he's done with Fields, he should not be affected by the crowd chanting, "We want Fields, we want Fields." But he maybe might want to be concerned with the players saying they want Fields, because DJ Moore has come out. He wants Justin. Yep. There are a lot of people in that locker room who believe in Justin. So that may be where the real problem lies.
Yeah, and if that is the real problem, that is a problem depending on who you are. If you want him out of there, it's a problem. If you want him to stay around, that's something you really want to hear. And a lot of times these players are influenced, especially someone like DJ Moore, who had a pretty darn good game, a couple of good games, but overall a solid year considering the circumstances. Hey, his voice will be heard. He's the guy they gotten over there. And did they give him some money as well? So he's going to be the guy that's there, that's going to have a voice in the locker room that's going to say, yo, we want him around. And if he's going to be around, you can't bring in these other quarterbacks. And could this be a situation where he's just trending up? He's finally kind of sort of getting it. It just happens to be at the end of the season. I know a lot of teams kind of do this at the end of the season. The momentum doesn't continue in the next season. But Justin Fields could be that guy. We don't know until we know. Unfortunately, the only way to find out is seeing him next season when the draft is already over and those quarterbacks that are there and those players that are there won't be there if you didn't get them.
Right. I think this is sort of a similar situation to Kevin Costner in draft day. He didn't have the number 1 pick, but he traded for the number 1 pick. The Bears have the number 1 pick and they have a quarterback.
Yep.
But do they fully believe in that quarterback? or do they take Bo Callahan, that guy from the movie?
Yeah, Bo
Quarterback from the
Callahan.
movie. Bo
Oh,
Callahan, who is AKA Caleb Williams, the diva I don't want on my team.
oh no, no, no. I don't think, you know what? Once this process starts working its way out, going through the combine and those things and the interviews that these teams have with these players, once all that stuff starts shaking out, I believe from what I've seen, you're going to start hearing less and less of Williams being a really top-notch blue chip prospect coming out of the draft. I think he'll be a good first rounder, but I think the talk of him being a generational player, like you've heard like last year, I don't think those types of talks are going to continue. I think Jaden Daniels doing what he has done, that's probably someone who's on the ascend. And if he just has to go to the combine and really just get people comfortable because of the interviews that he has, and then he decides to run out there, even though he doesn't need to run, but if he does well there, and then going into the quarterback room with these coaches and coordinators and scouts, if he's able to impress there, then you're talking about something in which they thought Caleb Williams was. And if he's going to be one of those types of talent, and especially the pressure now that CJ Stroud has put on rookies coming in, now people think they're looking for the next CJ Stroud. And who fits the bill more than anyone you've seen so far this year? It might be Jaden Daniels.
Right. But I tell you what, don't sleep on Michael Penix.
Oh no, you know what?
We'll talk about that game in a little bit, but
yeah,
I got the Huskies. I don't see Michigan slowing him down. Well, as long as he can be protected. If he has time to throw, he's gonna make the throws. But he's gonna help his draft stock with a W.
I think he is. Hell, I think he's helped his draft stock a lot up until this point.
He's already.
Because when he was at Indiana, he wasn't really that great of a quarterback. I mean, I don't think Indiana's had a great quarterback how long. And then now he goes to the West Coast. Is it a West Coast thing? No, it's that he has the personnel around him to show his physical gifts. He's a Florida guy, Tampa guy. But as is the NFL and as goes the NFL, they talk about these injuries from way back and how there can be issues now. And his knee history may be the reason why he drops a little bit. I don't think he's going towards the end of the round. But his talent for what he's done and what we've seen so far this season, he's a top 5 pick. But once they start poking and prodding, then you see him as a 15 pick, which still isn't bad. But based on his talent, it shouldn't be like that. But based on his physical nature and the injuries he's had, the reason why he may just drop just because of that.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this the other day. Out of all the quarterbacks coming out, he might be the most NFL ready.
NFL ready.
And plus, he's 24 years old as opposed to other guys a few years younger, or a couple years younger anyway. So going later to a better team may actually be better for him.
Yeah, and you hear people now talk about how being an older player is probably something that's not in your best interest. They look at Stetson Bennett, who was older than that. You go years back, you saw what Chris Weinke was. He didn't have a great career, but I guess it was as solid as it could possibly be based on how he came into the league. Baseball, Florida State, national championship, then did the NFL. Old guy, had a whole bunch of money, bought an apartment complex, all that stuff before he even got to college football. But, I think that's kind of the new age player we have now. An older player. And COVID, as you mentioned yesterday, it was a situation to where you're having COVID eligibility. Now you're a super duper senior, 24 years old, maybe 25 on your next birthday. Well, obviously you would be 25 your next birthday, but probably during the season. And this is what you're going to get. But hey, I think the NFL, they do like those long-term guys that you can get at 21 years old so they can say he'll be in this league for 10 years with this team being this effective, or that's what they believe. It's harder, I guess, when you're 24 years old. 10 years from now, you're 34. Maybe because of the success Tom Brady's had, they could think players could play if they're effective a little older.
But that's why I say him going later to a team that's almost playoff ready or on the cusp of the playoffs or trying to ascend, he could be that guy to help them get there.
Man, I
just a guy who's gonna. I mean, he's not gonna come in. I doubt he comes in and plays like CJ Stroud. I just think he's more ready right now than the other guys.
I'm just thinking a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know it doesn't sound like the right thing. It doesn't sound like the right thing, but the Steelers would be a team I believe he can go to and play well. Because the reason why it doesn't sound realistic because they just got Kenny Pickett 2 seasons ago. Even though he hasn't shown much progress, but you never know. And that third season may be the season where he takes those steps forward. I don't see it. And I know you wouldn't want to waste another draft pick on trying to, having a disgruntled locker room because there would be some dissension in that locker room if he did something like that. But yeah,
I don't know where the Steelers pick, but if they have a chance to get into the playoffs, right? If they win,
yeah.
So you're thinking it's got to be in the 20s somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised, like if they make it to playoffs and they get brutalized because they can't score, and they're sitting, let's say 22, and Michael Penix is there. I think that'd be a great pick for them.
Yep, and I was about to say, well, New England could like that too, but they're picking very early, and Bill Belichick might not be there any doggone way. So what difference does it make? Bill Belichick might not even be there. So that's the common denominator out there in New England in terms of being able to make that pick. And well, now you're picking earlier than they've picked in a long time in New England. For that matter, they're used to picking at the last part of the draft and still having the wherewithal to pick quality players.
Yeah, do we know if they can draft at the top of the draft?
We don't really
evaluate talent?
They'll ask for Tim Couch or somebody now. Like, that's what we want. Or Jared Lorenzen, man. Rest in peace. Yeah, man. But yeah, that's what we have this Saturday and Sunday in the NFL. A handful of games that we mentioned, not even a handful, like 3 games that we mentioned. The rest of the games are just filling out the rest of the season.
Oh, speaking of the Steelers, they play the Ravens. I thought I saw the Ravens are signing Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, they signed Dalvin Cook. In the beginning of the year, we were talking about Dalvin Cook, and I was hoping that the Jets did get Dalvin Cook. The Jets did get Dalvin Cook. And once he came to the Jets, we saw what kind of dog he was. And I don't mean dog in a good way. We're talking about a guy who refuses to block. At one point, I think I was reading, he had the lowest rating for blocking in the NFL out of all running backs. He completely refuses to block. That's pretty much what it comes down to. And then he complains about playing time. Bro, you see the problems we already have in our offensive line. We don't need a non-blocking running back to join the fray of the turnstiles we have up front.
Maybe he wasn't happy with the New York Jets culture. Maybe John Harbaugh knows something the Jets don't. We'll see.
Maybe Breece Hall just did what Breece Hall did with coming off of a bad knee injury and with a deficient offensive line, still was able to move forward at least in this entire season. And Dalvin Cook, when he had his opportunities, he wasn't doing the same thing. So, but I know running backs need to get in the rhythm, but still, Dalvin Cook had enough runs, enough touches to do something. He didn't do anything. So now,
he might be fresh and ready for a playoff push.
You know what? If that's so, I still think Gus Edwards is the running back there. And once they need some blocking, especially now that I know Lamar Jackson won't be playing on Saturday, but if Lamar Jackson was there, and now the new Lamar Jackson, who doesn't run around like he's crazy, he actually designs his runs and he kind of buys time with his legs. You want a running back who can block. And if he's that guy that was on that list, at the bottom of that list, that's not who I want out there. Gus Edwards will continue to be the running back there. And he's going to get you those guaranteed tough yards that he's been getting all year anyway. But nevertheless, Dalvin Cook's now with the Baltimore Ravens. And these other games are pretty much just games waiting for Black Monday. Get rid of these coaches. Starting with Washington. Just let them all go and see where everybody falls.
Right. Well, what if they beat Dallas, though?
If
the Commanders.
Oh, the Commanders. Bro, that doesn't keep his job. That don't keep anyone's job.
No. I'm just saying. And the Eagles win, then the Dallas doesn't win the division.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The Dallas doesn't win the division. Then you're gonna have a whole mess of nonsense down there. And by the way, I know since Dak has thrown his last interception, he says he didn't want to have 10 for the season. 2 more interceptions put him at that double-digit number of 10. So he hasn't thrown 2 interceptions, I believe, in one game this season. I think it's always been 1. So I guess for his own self, I think he has that in the back of his mind because he did talk about that, early in the season about not having the 10 interceptions. So if he goes into this game, gets his touchdowns, and doesn't throw an interception, he can say, I got the touchdowns, and I kept my word. I kept it 10 interceptions or below, or actually below 10 interceptions. And under those circumstances, Dallas should win.
We'll have to eat some crow because we kind of.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I thought he'll have it by week 7.
He's played much better than either of us expected.
Oh, yeah. But I thought he'd have it by week 7, week 8. He'll be throwing at number 10, and we were just looking forward to 15. That's it.
But who can blame us? I mean, our thinking was based on what he had shown us in prior years. So
yeah, exactly. Why can we not? And I think even with that in mind, there were people who would even give him the credit that he probably deserved. And I think he did deserve being in the MVP race. And still up to this point, he's not going to win it. I think it's Lamar Jackson's to lose. And with him sitting down, I don't think he's going to lose it. But and by the way, as far as awards postseason wise, you were talking about how CJ Stroud is not going to the Pro Bowl, hasn't been elected.
Yeah, I think he's had a better year than Mahomes. I'm not saying he's better than Mahomes, but taking into account the Texans had the second pick in the draft, were so far away from the playoffs, and he's got them this far. All they got to do is win, and they're in. And if Jaguars lose, they win the division.
Yeah.
As opposed to Super Bowl champs, we're way up here, and now they're kind of down here coming down to the pack. CJ Stroud has had a better season, in my opinion.
CJ Stroud overall has had a better season than a lot of these veterans in particular. Definitely rookie-wise, rookie of the year without a question. The only kid I can think of, what's the kid out there in the Rams, the wide receiver, Puka?
Oh, yeah.
Nakua? Nakua out in the with the Rams. He's put up a phenomenal year. I think people have forgotten about that, and I think this is one of those instances where the West Coast bias may be that big of a bias because the Rams still have a shot at the playoffs right now. You know what I mean? They win this game. I think they're in double digits as far as wins, and no one saw that coming this year. You know, especially after they played the way they did last season. And now, would it be unfair to put him as number one and still have CJ Stroud at number two because CJ has missed games? Going by the numbers this kid has put up, he's about to break records left and right. I mean, he's broken records left and right already. This isn't somebody that anyone pointed at as a special player or possibly special player, just somebody who got drafted out of BYU. And BYU, how many players come out of there?
So what if, you know how voters are, the NFL votes go, CJ Stroud wins Rookie of the Year and Nakua wins Offensive Rookie of the Year, which won't make no sense, but that's probably what's going to happen.
Somebody has to – I still think the West Coast bias is going to supersede anything that happens. So everything would just go to CJ Stroud, and I think deservedly so, but deservedly so because he's done what I didn't think anyone thought he could do. And on the other hand, you know, Nakua is –
nobody had the Texans in the playoff hunt.
No, come on. They were bottom feeders for years.
Right.
I mean, who could expect them to do anything? In fact, I thought they did themselves not a disservice. I was like, man, they're going to start this rebuilding process slowly. I was worried more about D'Amico Ryans not really getting a shot because he's coming into a mess. You gave him a bad job. You know he's not going to do well. You're going to fire him in 3 seasons, maybe 2. Now, this guy's going to be coach of the year probably.
Yeah, probably.
You know,
a lot of good things going on down in Texas.
A lot of great things going down there. That's why I'm glad the Jaguars are in the AFC South, and you get a chance to see this team twice a year. And every now and then, when the Jaguars are on the bye, you might get a chance to see them when the Jags aren't playing. But nevertheless, well, that's the NFL for this week. College football. Well, there's only 2 teams left, but there's a lot of storylines still lingering about. People still upset, trying to blame Florida State for not being a good team against Georgia. How can you say that and make a real argument when 29 of their players did not play in the game, including 2 possible first-round picks?
My issue with the people dogging Florida State, but saying it was okay for them not to be in the playoffs. Okay, you shut them out of the playoffs, and then you're upset that the players don't show up to play the game. You're telling them they don't matter. You're telling them their games don't matter. But then you want them to go play the game. Why? It doesn't matter. It actually does not matter. What they do in that game does not matter. So why should they play it? You already shut them out of the playoff, the games that did matter. And now you're upset because they opted out. And here you go, Stephen A. Smith. He said they opted out because they didn't want to get their ass kicked. He said all 29 players decided they didn't want to get their ass kicked and they didn't want to be told, yes, he was justified. How do you know what 29 people are thinking? You know what 29 people are thinking? Fuck out of here. Fuck you, Stephen A. Smith.
The bench rider from Winston-Salem State said that? That's what he was. What does he know about being a top-notch athlete? Get out of here with that. He could talk and over enunciate all he wants and put a long sentence together without a freaking period. all he wants. It doesn't change what happened with Florida State. 29 players decided to leave because of that one reason. They were disrespected that much. One of the few times that disrespect really mattered this time, to where they were disrespected. Their undefeated season did not matter. Winning the conference did not matter. Why should they stay? What's the coincidence here? There is no coincidence. The 4 teams that were in the CFP, none of their players opted out because they want to be there for a championship, especially their top players. I don't think any player from any of the top 4 teams that were left in the CFP opted out. That would have been Florida State if they had gotten their opportunity. Everybody stays. First of all, it helps your draft status against the very best. All eyes on you. So they would have been around for it. Now, whether they would have won or not, we don't know. But the point is, they should at least have gotten the chance. But because the CFP wanted to have Alabama in there, and you couldn't have Alabama if you had Texas, because they could not jump Texas because it made too much sense not to jump Alabama in front of Texas. That's why it ended up that way.
Where's the hate for Jaden Daniels? Where's the hate for Marvin Harrison Jr.? You know, all the stars that didn't play. Where's the hate for them? They talked about fans showed up to watch, and they were robbed because their 29 players opted out. Well, if I go watch Ohio State, I want to see Marvin Harrison Jr. I want to see 18 running down the field. If I go see LSU, I want to see Jaden Daniels doing his thing. What's the difference? Why not hate them too?
And we saw the results of that. We saw how Ohio State was different without Marvin Harrison Jr. We saw how different they were without Kyle McCord, two of the big cards on their offense at least. Their defense played their butts off. They were up 3-0 for quite a period of time until they just couldn't score and just couldn't keep on doing what they were doing. And Missouri still won now as the third best team in the SEC under normal circumstances. They were able to win just 14-3. So it leads me to believe that if Ohio State had their full allotment of their talented players, particularly the quarterback and their all-world wide receiver, they would win that game. But you know what? We don't know that, and we never will know that. But as far as what Florida State done, look at the reality. As of June 3rd, which is the last day of the transfer portal being open, at least for right now, until after spring practice, 2,133 people had entered the portal. Florida State's responsible for a little over 1% of those 2,000 plus players. 1% out of 133 college teams. That says a whole lot. A whole bunch of these people were Seminoles that were in this transfer portal.
Right.
And you wonder why they freaking lost the way they did. This was not the 13-0 team. That was 13-0. That team that played against Georgia, well, you might as well be in a skeleton scout squad because that's exactly what happened.
Right. And they're saying that game was bad for college football. Leaving out an undefeated team from the playoff was bad for football.
How can you even fix their mouth to say that? It's bad for college football when you did what you did, and because you had some people who are on your side agree with what you did. You thought it was the right thing. You didn't even care about Florida State's.
Yeah, both teams they got in lost.
Exactly. Your two.
Or they might have lost too, but I mean, at least they would have gotten their shot.
You know, everybody's leaving with 2 losses. Those teams that shouldn't have been in to begin with. Texas had more of a right than Alabama, but if Florida State would have lost, it would have been just their 1 loss for the season, not their second loss. It might have been a double-digit loss. We don't know, but Florida State should at least have gotten the opportunity to go to the national championship game. But now that we're here, Washington's
that's all water under the bridge. But now people want to kill them for their players opting out. That's just asinine.
You know what? If they're complaining right now, they better get used to complaining years down the line, because this is now the new normal. Players just opting out. These other meaningless games because some sponsor attaches their name to it, throws out a few dollars, those are going to be as insignificant as they've ever been. They might as well cut down on the bowl games. It's not going to really matter anymore because these players are going to opt out. And then on top of that, the teams that do stay, you don't even recognize your own players by game day because the transfer portal, the brand new players there. I mean, I'm not knocking any of these players. I'm glad they were able to do what they're able to do. It's killing what was left of the integrity of college football. But now we have Washington. Now we have Michigan. At least we have a traditional matchup between Pac-12, which is now pretty much defunct, and Big Ten. But Michigan being a 4.5-point favorite, the line hasn't moved from what I've seen. But now I'm thinking, you know, like you said, I think that Washington has too many freaking weapons, especially at wide receiver, to where if you have 2 good defensive backs, that's one thing. You're going to need 3 or 4 good defensive backs because they have tight ends who can catch, wide receivers who can catch, running backs who can catch. And, I mean,
I just think Penix, he's playing at a level right now. The other night he was in the rhythm. He came out, I think the second half made 11 completions in a row, and then the first
Start.
incompletion was a drop. But it's not just 11 straight incompletions. He's throwing with so much accuracy, man. And that's why I say if his team can keep him upright, he's not running around for his life, he's gonna make the throws. His guys get open. And I think if Washington, if they can get out to a lead, maybe 10-3, 14-7, it's going to be difficult for Michigan, especially if they're muffing punts and doing all the crap they did against Alabama. Washington will not lose if they give up the ball like they did to Bama.
Well, I'm thinking more that's not as likely to happen. It hasn't happened all season long because, like football,
Right. I'm just saying, if it does,
that's going to be, well, man, that's going to be their demise. But they're creatures of habit, playing week after week. They took off about 3 weeks, 4 weeks before this game here, so you can see a couple of kinks and things, a little rust and things like that happening. Now that they've gotten their chance to play again, and now they're going to be playing another week after that, I think now you're going to see fewer mistakes, but you're going to get a more premium game between both teams. And, I mean, credit, by the way, credit. We talk about Jim Harbaugh, how great a coach he's been, and he has, but his team is running without him 2 for 6 games this season. Coach DeBoer for Washington, this guy turned that program around immediately. Typically, you think 3, 4, 5 years to turn a program around. He just came last year. They were 4-8 last season. Well, now in another year, 2 seasons ago when he came, he turns that around to 11-2. And by the way, he beats Texas in the Alamo Bowl last year. So to beat them again, it's just funny as hell that he was able to do it, but not surprising. And then this year, he's the underdog 5 times. He's won those 5 games. He's beaten 9 ranked teams, all of them. And, bro, I think while I'm picking Oregon all this time against them, because I'm not believing in what Washington is doing, I'm just completely forgetting about the things that they are doing. And it's pretty historic what they're doing. The top teams, and then now the 5 underdogs and winning all of those games, they're an underdog again, 4.5 points. Man, it makes you want to lean that way because of history and stats. But man, watching the eyeball test, I just look at a closer game, and I can still see Michigan pulling it off. But
my concern being that I'm pulling for Washington is that Harbaugh says Texas could have won if they just stuck to the run game. We're going to run it down their throat.
And if they can do that?
If they do that and Washington has no answer for it, then Michigan probably wins by 2 touchdowns at least.
But you know what? And to counter that, I remember the same thing I was thinking about when they played Oregon. Not only the first time, but even the second time. Bo Nix was finally going to run the ball and do what he's been doing, throwing the touchdowns as he had done, and he didn't do it. They've seen the J.J. McCarthy act in Bo Nix, a guy who makes even better decisions than J.J. McCarthy. A guy not as fast, but not too much slower than
Oregon doesn't have Michigan's line. You know, they don't have.
But Oregon's a different kind of team because they're a finesse Pac-12 team. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Michigan
is going to
3 yards in a cloud of dust if necessary.
But if for some reason this season in particular, Washington has been a bend but don't break defense, but their offense was always able to bail them out. And their offense and defense, their defense has always been able to kind of step up when they needed to, because there've been games or a game in which Penix didn't throw a touchdown at all, and they still won. So this team, complete team effort. I mean, Washington just playing the consummate role as underdog, and they fit the bill. Now, Michigan, I don't think they've been getting the respect they deserved over the years, over the season, and they're finally getting it because they're just proving it, and you just can't disprove what they've done. You know, if Georgia was still in this mix right now, you'd be saying they're the best, even after Michigan might have beaten them. You know, people, they just don't get the respect. And by the way, as far as this SEC goes, this is the first time in 18 years that an SEC team is not in the top 1 or 2 in the AP poll by season's end. And the first time that an SEC team has not been in the national championship game since 2014. Wow. And that's when Oregon played Ohio State. It's craziness.
It is.
But you know, that kind of lends itself to where I say, yeah, the SEC is the most dominant conference. The numbers always prove it. When you watch the teams play, it proves it. But this season in particular, I knew they were not the best conference. I knew that their top teams were not better than the top teams in the Big Ten. And we're kind of seeing how things worked out. In fact, the Pac-12 for that matter. Your best team, Alabama, apparently losing to Texas the way they did, then getting bounced in the championship game the way they did, well, kind of proves that.
That's true.
So now what's next? We're talking college football. We'll get a chance to shut the door on it on Monday when the game does come about, but
so who are you picking? I'm picking Washington.
Oh, you picking Washington? I'll wait till Monday to make this pick, man, because
the game probably be going on.
What time the game? Isn't it an 8 o'clock game? 7:30 game?
I don't know. Well, by the time the show uploads,
we might do a 20-minute show, man, just to get it out there.
Get our picks in now.
Man, all the numbers to me says go with Washington, man. But I've been on this Michigan bandwagon, not even a bandwagon. I've been doing this because I believe what I've been seeing and what I understand who they have on their offensive line, those new people who came in on the offensive line from other teams as captains and incumbents on their team, leadership. And we've seen it throughout the entire season. I think Michigan wins this game. Hopefully, J.J. McCarthy's going to have to play a lot better than he's played because his numbers have dropped in the past 3, 4, maybe 5 games after this last game. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Michigan. I gotta dance with who I bought to the dance.
I just gotta point out, I picked Washington and I picked Michigan. You picked. Yeah. Who'd you pick?
And I'm picking.
No, last week.
Oh, Washington, Michigan. I picked Michigan.
And
I picked Michigan and I picked Texas.
Right. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I just want
you know what? Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Come on now.
I even said though on Thursday, I said, you come in on Monday and I tell you that I was right and Trav was wrong.
Hey, we'll have to see what this. Hey, the big enchilada's on the line right now, so we'll get a chance to see.
I don't know about this week. I'm not as confident, but I just think Penix. Like I said, he's in rhythm. He's playing at an insane level right now, and as long as he has time to throw, he's gonna make the throws.
If I have to just pick up dirt just for the sake of making a point, this Indiana player couldn't do it when he was in the Big Ten. Why should he do it against a Big Ten team? Well, it makes sense to me when it came out. Let's see how this game goes because of it.
Wait. I'm told Indiana's not a football school, but they got blasted by Nebraska on the hardwood last night.
Oh, really? See, I didn't see that part.
They may not be a basketball neither.
It's playing good
right now. Basketball school neither. I don't know.
Basketball's playing well. Nebraska's playing pretty decent basketball right now. I know conference play just begun, but right now, I believe they're like 10-2 or something, somewhere around there. Yeah. So they're doing pretty well to start the season off. I was looking at a few of those teams yesterday. Like, man, we have some pretty good teams going on right now. I mean, the Big East.
Speaking of college basketball, we got to talk about Caitlin Clark, man.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
man, that is one badass chick, dude.
Yep. Legitimately bad too.
She might be the GOAT. Who is the women's basketball GOAT? Is it Cheryl Miller?
No, from who I've seen. You talk about in college?
I don't know.
Cause I saw Brittany
Cheryl Miller didn't play with a 3-point line, did she? But she wouldn't be shooting from the logo neither.
Oh, nah.
Caitlin, she's the female version of Steph Curry.
She's gonna light up. She'll be that person and make that WNBA something worth watching.
She's right. She's the only one to have so many points, so many rebounds, and so many assists. Like, there's a list of one. It's her. She's the only one on that list. So she might be the GOAT college player of all time, man. Her shot, what can you say about it? It's pretty. It's smooth. Her release.
Not the usual pushing it from the chest shot you get from the women.
She shoots from the logo. She doesn't push it. It's not a push shot. But I even saw her throw somebody's shot in the lane the other day. I was like, oh, I didn't know you did that too. Wow. That girl can play, man. That girl can play. That's all I know.
Yo, and like I said, I think she's going to be the reason why people may just decide to trickle over to the WNBA just to see her, even if it's just for a short period of time to see if they're seeing what they're seeing. I'm not going to say she's going to be the one to make it into the NBA because that would be Brittany Griner. When I watched her as a college player, I thought if someone's going to get a shot, they won't make it. But if they're going to do something, even for political correctness reasons, to give him an opportunity to NBA or even G League, it would have been Brittany Griner. That's how dominant she was at Baylor. But then you had Candace Parker, and we never got a chance to see Cheryl Miller, man. We never got a chance to see Cheryl Miller in the WNBA. And according to many people I've seen in the Olympics, she was the best female they've ever seen play basketball in their lives. So I wish she would have had a chance. She just came along too late. But then there was Rebecca Lobo, and I like Diana Taurasi myself. But right now, nah, not competing right here with Caitlin.
You know what? Now that you mentioned females maybe in the NBA, I don't think it'll ever happen. But I saw Mary McGee. She's been on our show before, former world champion boxer. She's on Facebook talking about they're allowing transgenders to compete against women. That's total bullshit, man.
The blonde bomber was talking about that just the other day.
Joe Louis?
No, the blonde bomber, Ebony.
Oh, I thought you said the brown bomber.
Like, Joe put her in his grave over this fight, man.
My bad. I thought you said the brown bomber.
No, the one from Australia, man. The blonde bomber. Oh, man, yeah, that's ridiculous, man. See, boxing that's the kind of sport it is, though. For dollars,
you got to be a total piece of shit to be a man. Say, you know what? I
want to fight a woman.
Identify as a woman. I'm gonna fight women. I'm gonna be champion of the world. Mm-hmm. Man, you are a piece of shit.
Man, for the meantime, could this be a conspiracy against Clarissa Shields and put a man in there and get her when they want to put her on the back? But you don't have to go that far. But only boxing can do something like that and not care about a black eye or how bad it looks.
She's already been slept. So
yeah, exactly, that's true. But they want it official. They want it official. They want BoxRec to say L slept. That's it. That's what they want to have. they want to have something official on the record. But that's
our world is just.
Is it going to be in this country or everywhere?
I don't know. I think
the nonsense did start in this country to begin with.
That's one fight or however many fights it happens. I will not watch. I'll refuse.
Nah, I'm not watching any transgender fights.
Oh, while we're talking boxing, man, middle fingers to Canelo, throwing shade at Bud Crawford, saying he never beat or he only beat one great fighter.
This guy.
Name the great fighter you beat, Ginger.
Why is Canelo doing this to himself? Man, he doesn't have to do this.
Old.
Canelo has the money.
Kovalev, old. Cotto, old. Triple G, old. And you didn't even beat Triple G. Except the third time.
With Triple G.
All the names on his record, those guys were old. And then when he did fight greatness, he got embarrassed. Floyd won nearly every round. Bevo won nearly every round. Name the one fighter you beat, Ginger.
Caleb Plant. And he was losing that one before he won.
Great fighter, I said. Great fighter.
I know. Well, I think you said somebody with gloves. That's all. That's great. Yeah, I don't know why he would even come out like that. Canelo has no reason.
And then on top of that, he don't want to fight Benavidez. This dude don't have no right throwing shade at nobody. Shut the hell up.
That's a fight that has to happen. I don't think this isn't Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis where you can get away with not fighting.
Bowl.
Yeah, right? You can't get away with that fighting. Those two kind of like didn't fight when they should have fought. I don't think this era can go by, even this late in Canelo's career, the way he could just, if nothing else, pass the torch to the young buck or prove that you're not ready to pass the torch by beating this young guy.
I don't know. It's like
he doesn't come across as something. You know what? This entire career of Canelo's, he's never come across as someone to me that was afraid of another fighter. Man, this dude's a real boxer. Man, he's a real fighter. I think I don't know the reason. He's making up reasons for why he won't fight Benavidez, but I think if the fans come out too hard against it, or if the public overall just gets too much on it, he's going to say he's one of those dudes that will say, you know what, screw it.
Oh my gosh! And supposedly there's a rematch with Floyd and Pacquiao.
Man,
one's 46, the other one's 45. Are you serious? Is it going to count, or is it going to be an exhibition?
Exhibition or not, no one. Well, there are.
I'm just saying because if it counts, well, then I'll say I'll give him his 50 if he beats him. Because right now Floyd's 49-0.
Imagine seeing those two
McGregor fight don't count.
Just imagine watching those two go 12 rounds. Now, because no one has a belt, it might be 10 rounds. But for good conscience, can you watch it? I mean, it's not a bad thing. I think it's more of a desecration of boxing to have these old legendary fighters.
The thing about it is it's going to be pay-per-view. What's the charge?
Of course it is. The people are going to pay. And they're going to try to give us $100 fight. That's not going to happen.
No, I don't know.
Unbelievable.
I mean,
And it's going to be streamed because there aren't any more.
I don't know. I can't call it, man. I can't. I'm at a loss for words.
Man, that's
It's
yeah,
craziness.
it is.
The show went off the rails.
And Pacquiao made the announcement like it was some type of a New Year's gift. Yeah. By the way, I'm going to be having a fight with Floyd Mayweather. What? When did Floyd able to keep his mouth closed long enough?
Who was calling for that fight?
No one. Maybe Manny Pacquiao. The shoulder's probably well now. He thinks he could use it.
Maybe
It doesn't make any sense other than dollars and cents, because it will make money, because there are suckers out there, the people who don't like Floyd enough to still say he's going to get what he deserves, and people who love Manny Pacquiao and just want to see him fight again. That's what you're going to have paying for this kind of a fight.
Oh, before we sign off for the weekend, we got to talk about those bum-ass Lakers and LeBron being too soft.
LeBron was sick yesterday, man.
Come on, man. Get out of here. That dude will.
So they said.
He'll always talk, and then after the game, he has a shitty game to take another L. Oh, he can't talk to the media. That's the GOAT. Fuck out of here.
Well, I think that.
Oh, that guy's talking crazy. Get him out of here. He gets fans ejected. He don't want to talk.
That's weak. That's lame.
You talk about soft. He's proven he's soft. It's not me hating. He's showing that he's soft. He is soft. I don't care.
Fans are going to be fans, and they will even risk their season tickets or even their entire life of watching games in person just to be pains in the ass to certain players. And he's one of those players they would like to do it. He's throwing fans out, man.
The thing about it is he's been playing great. He's playing at a high level. His teammates aren't. AD is. He has one bad game, and now he can't talk to the media. Come on, man. Don't be like that.
Did you watch the game last night? Because I turned it on for a little bit. And I think I turned it on when he talked about, I think he had 3 points in the first half, and he finally got his other points, in the opening of the third quarter. And I was like, bro, I can't deal with this West Coast. I got to get to bed. It's a game over. I did watch those Knicks, though, against the Bulls.
I didn't stay up for it, but the Pacers beat the Bucks again.
Bro, the Pacers, man, that Tyrese Halliburton, you remember a couple of nights ago, 20 assists with not one turnover.
Yeah,
that
dude's nice.
He's absolutely insane, man. And I hate that the guy doesn't get a lot of credit, this particular guy. Rajon Rondo was a lot like that dude in terms of just distributing the ball. But, he's old at his age now.
He shoots too, man. He goes to the basket.
Oh, yeah, he does it all.
My thing is,
Rajon can't shoot nothing.
I don't know if I have to keep saying this, but when the trade went down, I said they're just playing to outscore everybody. They don't have enough scoring to do it because they don't have nobody to guard Halliburton. Maybe Drew could have slowed him down somewhat, but Lillard don't play defense like that. Middleton can't play defense like that. They might need to make another trade for a defensive player, Dylan Brooks or Marcus Smart, somebody.
But
their championship aspirations they're going to go down just like the Dubs, just not as bad.
Yeah, and in light of what the Celtics will continue to do, especially at home, I mean, they can lose on the road, but at home, man, they're just insanely good. Now, they did have a couple of close calls last week at home, some close calls, but they still were able to pull it off. But, man, I mean, look at the Clippers, by the way. They won 13 of their last 15 games. When it really started off, we'll talk about how James Harden was just a dark cloud. They're seeming to get it together somewhat. A long time to go.
What's he going to do in the playoffs?
In the playoffs, exactly. We still remember those 9 points and about 40 minutes last season in the playoffs. Just not acceptable for a legendary player in which he thinks he is.
Yeah, my thing is you got a lot of these younger teams playing really well, but how long can they keep it up? OKC is playing really well.
OKC's killing it.
T-Wolves are playing really well, except the Pelicans pounded them.
Orlando. They're coming back down to earth a little bit, but Boncaro blown it up.
We're not even to the All-Star break,
Yeah. Young kids. They got that energy to run it until you start getting to the grinding part. That's when they kind of fall apart. But, it works in waves in terms of getting your team to become championship caliber. Oklahoma City, we talked about in the beginning of the season, even before the season, in my opinion, they were the best young team, proving it a lot right now. But, yeah, they finally got beaten, got their, 4 or 5 game winning streak snapped. Definitely a good team to watch, man. SGA, if there's ever been a player that needs props and being the MVP voting, he's definitely up there along with Embiid.
Yeah.
And Tyrese Halliburton. Yeah, he needs to be there. That guy,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, but he has help too. You got Chet.
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. Chet's a beast, man. He might get rookie
Right?
of the year. Oh, he should get rookie of the year. He didn't play last year. This is his first year
Yeah.
playing.
Still, like I said, they haven't made it to the All-Star break. A lot of basketball to
And
be
that's true. A
played,
lot
but
of basketball.
right now, I'd say he's the front runner.
Yeah, and his little frail body might not hold up as it didn't just last season when it was even more frail in the preseason. So, yeah. All right. So that'll be putting a lid on the show today. We'll be back on Monday because there'll just be a little bit more time before you find out who the new national championships of the 2023 season is in college football as Washington takes on the 4.5-point favorite Michigan Wolverines in
Go
Texas.
Huskies! Go Huskies!
Hey, Wolverines, keep running the way I had you running from the very beginning of the season. Don't embarrass us. Until then, he's biased. I'm Trav. We'll see you on Monday. That says deuces.